Excellent. So let's just get this going. And we are live. Welcome everyone for the very first time to this Integromat live Q&A. So if you see me looking up and down all the time, so I am live on Facebook right now here on my phone, and I'm also live on YouTube. So if you also want to see my screen, then please go to YouTube. And if you just want to hear me speak, you can stay on Facebook, but I would recommend go over to YouTube because then you can put in some questions in the comments. So first of all, what is all of this about? So my name is Dominik Lehnert. I am the founder of Tomorrow, and our mission at Tomorrow is to help you in your business. So if you're a small business, a young business, probably a solopreneur or a medium-sized company, and if you have your employees or you yourself, you want to get back to the things that you love in your business. So you started out your business, you had some specific activity or some specific idea in mind that you wanted to work on. Maybe you are a graphic designer, a video editor, a photographer, a coach, some sort of personal coach, maybe a Scrum coach, anything like that. And you started out your business and you wanted to do this one activity. But now kind of life happens. Life gets in the way, business gets in the way. And now you're doing all those things that take up a lot of your time, like scheduling meetings, having your client meetings, following up after client meeting, managing your bookkeeping and managing events, whatever it is for you. And that takes away from the time that you actually want to spend with the thing that you love and why you started the business. And the purpose we have at Tomorrow is to help you get back to the thing that you love in your business, why you get out of bed in the morning, and the thing that you really enjoy. And we happen to do that with automation. So we are not just a tech company. Our purpose is to just help you get back to the things in your business that you love and that you enjoy. And that's why we are here today. We happen to do that with automation, and we happen to use the tool Integromat for that. So Integromat, if you've never worked with it, I hope if you're on the stream that you have worked with Integromat before, or that's the reason why you're here, because you might have some questions. Integromat basically just allows you to automate a ton of different basically use cases or scenarios. Pretty much anything you can dream up, you can automate in Integromat, and we can help you do that. So either you do that yourself, we also offer educational products and training for that. So we can also just help you teach yourself how to automate the things that you need to automate in Integromat, or also we can just do that for you, because probability is high if you have a business and you're already overwhelmed with all of those organizational tasks and everything, that you don't have the time to also learn automation and how to automate processes and learn these low-code platforms like Integromat, or maybe you want to use Zapier. So how is this going to work today? So today what I want to do is I'm going to build scenarios in Integromat in front of you. And what I want to help you with this is I want to show you the way I built these scenarios and why I built them the way I do it, and kind of walk you through the thought process I'm having while building these scenarios and these automations in Integromat, and maybe why I make certain design decisions over different ways of doing this. So one disclaimer is I wouldn't say I'm an expert in Integromat. I'm fairly okay in it. So my personal background is in computer science. So Integromat for me is one tool of achieving these different things. I could also just write the code down in Python or something and sort of automate the same process, but Integromat just allows you to do that a lot simpler. So what I want to do with you, and I'm not an expert as I said here, and if you have a question, please just pop it in the YouTube comment section and we can have a look at the scenario, maybe just build the scenario completely for you here live on air. So I'm not an expert, I'm able to solve any problem with a bit of research, I would say. And that's kind of what computer science is, in my opinion. You just Google stuff until you can solve the problem and until you've understood the software or the technology you're using well enough to solve the problem. So this is what we're going to do here. If you have any questions you would like to ask about Integromat, just feel free to pop them in the YouTube comment section. And if you have any specific, hey everyone who joined on YouTube as well. So if you have any specific Integromat questions, just pop them in the YouTube comments. And if not, I will just build something with you together, and that is Adam, my virtual assistant. So I got my coffee here, so my black coffee, and so I'm ready to go. And we are now going to work on my assistant that I built in Integromat. So first of all, the assistant I'm talking about here is Adam. So Adam is my virtual assistant, and the way Adam looks is basically a bunch of scenarios. So let's just have a look. Why did I even build this Adam, my virtual assistant, in Integromat? So if you've worked with me before, you might have gotten an email from me where I used Adam. So the way Adam works is he listens in on my email conversations, or rather I copy him on email conversations I have with people. And if I don't want to go in and then schedule a meeting and then you create the Zoom call, you send out the Zoom link and all these sorts of things, I didn't want to do that anymore, so I just created an automation for myself that is going to take care of that in the future. And what we now want to do is we want to add some more features to Adam, and I'm just going to walk you through kind of what Adam is, what it does, and how I add these features and why I might make certain design decisions. So just a quick just recap how Adam works. As I said, I trigger Adam out of email conversations I'm having. So if I'm typing an email and then I just want Adam to send out, let's say, a meeting invitation to Archive. So I want Adam to send out an meeting invitation to Archive. So I just copy Adam in the email I'm sending out to Archive anyways. And then I'm just going to say, at Adam, please send. And then I'm just putting in the information. So I'm saying what time and what day it's going to be, the name of Archive also I have to put in. And then I just pass out all these information from the email I've just sent. So in this case, I'm going to pass out Adam's name. So I want to make sure that I only trigger this scenario, which is going to create the meeting details and the meeting, the Zoom link and everything. I only trigger that if I really meant to email Adam. Then I'm going to pass out the date that I need. And if you've not worked with this, this is basically regex. So one extremely useful thing if you're working with regex is regex 101. You can see I've used it plenty of times before. And this allows you to just build these patterns that you see. So this in here is a regex pattern that is, for example, going to filter out the date in US format. Then I do the same thing for the time of the day that the meeting is going to be. I pass out the name of the recipient and the email address of the recipient if it's in there. Then one neat little trick I used here is, in your scenarios that you're building, there might be some inputs that you always need to have. So I'm just going to pop up the YouTube questions over here if anything comes up. Adam, yep, absolutely right. That's basically what you do. So I studied computer science, but that's kind of how it works. You just Google stuff until you find out how it works, and then you try to remember it for the next time. So going back to the scenario. So one thing that I used here is checking if I have all the inputs, and then in some cases for your scenarios, you might not even need all the inputs that you're trying to collect. So in this case, for example, I don't necessarily need the input, the email address that I put into the email itself, because I can maybe read them from the email header. So it's going to read who I sent the email to. So if I send an email to Adam, it can pass that from the from the subject, from the metadata, and I don't need to pass the email from the text of the email. So long story short, what you might want to do is you might want to check, do I have all the inputs I need, especially if you're passing text, because if you have human input and you're trying to pass human input, it's always going to be wrong in some way or form. So in this case, I'm checking, do I have all the necessary inputs? If not, then break. And one thing in Integromat is you can't, there's no module that allows you to stop a scenario on purpose. So you can't generate, what I mean by that is you can't generate an error on purpose. So what I then like to do is I just take one of the modules I'm using in the scenario anyways, and I configure it in a way that it's going to generate an error. So in this case, if I don't have all the inputs I need, I want to generate an error because I want the scenario to break. And what I did is you just use a Zoom module. And in this case, I just put in -1 for the duration in minutes, and Zoom is not going to be able to handle this. So it is going to break, and then I can use that to actually create an error handling route and then send an email to myself. Hey, this broke, with some information, so I can fix it and I can go in and add the additional information. So if I have all the information, I just move on. I schedule the Zoom meeting, I send out the email, and then I log the email that I just sent. So this is kind of the basic of how Adam, my virtual assistant, works. And yeah, Adam, thanks. So Adam Crossley from YouTube. Sorry, now it might be a bit confusing. Adam Crossley from YouTube. Thanks for joining, and I hope you're going to enjoy the replay of this. So this is the basics of how Adam works. Adam, my virtual assistant in this case. So I send an email, and in that email, I just mention Adam, my virtual assistant, and he's going to read out all the information from the email he needs, and then he's going to set up the Zoom call and send an email to the person I'm having the meeting with. But now I found this is not quite as complete as I want it to be. So there's a few functionalities that I found that would be really useful. So the first thing is, for Adam to send out emails, I'm using sort of a subdomain of my domain. So I'm using, instead of formorrow.com, so the email is not coming from adam@formorrow.com, but it's coming from adam@mail.formorrow.com. So it's a subdomain, and that creates some problems for you because some, for example, Gmail might think that this is spam. And I've had this problem actually before, that the email Adam sent out just got into the spam folder of the person I sent it to. And then I also realized, okay, if I send out these emails, I have to make sure that the person who got the email, it didn't get into their spam folder, so they actually read it, or also maybe it did not get into their spam folder and they just saw it, it just came into their inbox, but maybe they didn't open the email because they didn't know any Adam, and so it just got lost somewhere in the hundreds of emails someone has. So what I wanted to now do is I want to give Adam the ability to realize when the email that Adam has sent is not being opened, or when it has been opened. So what I want to do is 15, 20, maybe an hour before the meeting actually happens, I want to make sure, did the person I send the Zoom link to, did they actually receive the Zoom link, and did they open it, so they are going to be able to come into the meeting. So the first thing I need to do for this is I need to actually be able to see who opened the email I sent them to. And if you have a normal inbox, so to say, you're just using Gmail, you don't actually see that. So there's some tools you can use which allow you to see that, but that's kind of add-ons you can put on top. But your normal Gmail is not going to tell you if someone opened an email. So this is a bit different here with this. What I'm using is Mailgun. So Mailgun is just another email tool that basically allows you to send emails out. And the way Mailgun works is you can actually get events when someone has opened your email. So we are going to use this to actually track. We send out the email to the person with the Zoom details for the meeting, and then we're going to track, did this email actually get opened? So in this case, we can use the Mailgun new events open module. And I've kind of prepared this yesterday a bit because I just wanted to have this functionality. And we can use Mailgun to see, okay, did the person actually open the email? And if they opened the email, I want to add this to a tracking Google Sheet that I created. So the tracking Google Sheet is actually quite simple. Oh, I just realized that I've been overlaying the image over the whole display the whole time. I'm sorry for that. You must have not been able to see a lot here. Okay, let's just continue. Sorry for that. First time today, so this is going to be noted for the next time. So where were we? We have the scenario here, and we want to log all the emails that got opened. So in Google Sheets, I've created nope, that's another example. In Google Sheets, I've created a Mailgun mail opening tracking sheet, and it's really straightforward. So we have to know which message we're tracking. And the way Mailgun works is it creates message IDs. So this one is unique for each of the emails you send out with Mailgun. So I can use that to identify the email I've sent. And then I just have two columns in here. One is sent. So this is going to be the timestamp that I've sent the email out. And opened, this is going to be the timestamp that the email has actually been opened. And over here, what we're now going to do is we just have our Mailgun event watcher. So every time I send out an email and someone opened that email, then it's going to get noted in here in the Google Sheet. So I'm first going to check, is there an email in my Google Sheet that has this this message ID, it's called in Mailgun. So I'm going to check, can I find a row with the message ID that matches the one from the event that Mailgun just gave me? If yes, fetch that row. and then please update the opened time to the current timestamp. So it's pretty straightforward. Sorry, let's just have a look at this as well. So it's going to update the opened time to be the current timestamp. So what this does is every time an email gets sent out and opened, I'm going to log this in here. And now I can use that to actually check, okay, 1 hour, let's say 1 hour before the meeting, did the person that I have the meeting with actually open the email? And if not, I want to send out a reminder, but from my personal email address. So now I want to send out a reminder from dominic@fomorrow.com and not use Adam's email address, because that one is just going to get stuck in spam again. So let's build that. So what we need to do here is we basically, first we have to check. So we want this to be time triggered. So let's say probably once every 60 minutes. We don't want to overburden my account. Once every 60 minutes is probably fine. So once every hour, we're going to check, do we have an upcoming meeting? If yes, please send out the reminder. So once every 60 minutes, we then have to check, do we have an upcoming meeting? So if we have an upcoming meeting, we first have to be able to check if there is an upcoming meeting somehow. So what we actually need to do is we need to append this tracking sheet here. So as you can see, I don't actually know. I know the message I send out, but I don't know what meeting it corresponds to, and I don't know when the meeting is going to be. So actually, first step is going to be appending the logging here. So let's add 2 rows. Insert one, insert another one. And let's say we got the meeting, and then we have the meeting time. So if we log, so if we send out the email for the meeting and we log that we just created a new meeting, then this is where we log the meeting. So we just open this one here, and did it already fetch the new ones? Yes, it did. So we have to move this one around. So opened, this is the timestamp for when the email was opened. We don't want to set this one because now we only know when we send the email. And then for the meeting, let's just fetch the topic. So for the topic, we just use the one from the email we passed. Sorry, this is the name of the Zoom meeting basically. And then for the meeting time, we use created at start time. This one works. So this, as you might know, I'm actually located in Sweden. So this is the Swedish local time format. That's good. So that's fine with us. And now we want to test that. So it actually adds this here. So what I'm going to do, what you are not going to be able to see, unfortunately, is I'm just going to send out a quick test email. So this is just going to take 1 second. So, because I don't want you to see my whole email inbox. So I'm just going to send this out. And I'm going to reuse one that I previously sent out to adam@fomorrow.com. Send, boom, done. So now if we saved it, let's just go back and wait for it to trigger. Oh yeah, we can see it just ran. I just have to move my phone with the Facebook Live a bit. And let's have a look at the details. So it ran all the way through. That looks good. And in here we have the new information. So now we have the message ID, and that was the bling from the email I just got. So now we have the message ID in here. So this is that one. Then we have the name of the meeting. We have the meeting time. So also in just the standard timestamp in a sense. We know when it was sent because we did that just now. And as you can see, there's no opened set here. So what I now want to show you is I want to actually, so we added that, so we know when the meeting is actually going to take place, which is great. So one thing I just noticed, which is still wrong, you can see in the comparison here, we have these little brackets here, which we don't actually want. So we're going to fix that in a second in the automation. But now I just want to also see if the open logging works. So I'm now going to actually go over here and I'm going to open the email that I just received. Now it's opened. And now let's just refresh this one. Yep, we can see it just ran and it went through all the way. So let's jump over here and refresh. Oh, I think I know what went wrong. We updated the wrong timestamp. Sorry if this is a bit chaotic today. As I said, very first time. And also, if you have any specific questions, just pop them in the YouTube question box. Feel free to. So in here, let's just move this over. So in here, we've put in the meeting, we've put in the current time with the meeting time. So since we added a new or two new columns to our Google Sheet, one mistake we made here was actually we did not update this automation, which sets when the email was opened. So if it put it into the wrong column, beginner mistake, I would say. So let's just save that and do another quick test run for this. So first, before we do the test run, there was one other thing that we wanted to fix, and that was in here. We actually need to fix the way it inputs the message ID, because as you noticed, we had these little brackets here at the end, these little triangle brackets. And as you can see, I did a bit of work here, but that definitely did not work. So there's two ways kind of how we could solve this. One way would be, because as you can see, the message ID that we get from the send invite email. So as you can see, there's the nice one blinking here. If you just hover over this one, it's going to tell you where the input is coming from. So that's why it's blinking. So the input we get here, you can see has these little triangle brackets. So we actually need to remove those. And one way we can do that is actually we can trim our, no, that's not the one. We want a substring. And one way we can do the substring is we kind of cut off where you tell it the starting position and the end position. So what we can do, and I hope this, so this is something that works in every programming language. I hope it works in Integromat as well, is if you just want, let's say you want to cut off the last one, you can just put as the end string. So as the end position, you just put in -1. So let's do this in this case. So let's use the substring function. So first we give it the string we want to work with. Then now we have to tell it from the beginning how many letters do you want to keep. So from the beginning, we want to cut off the first one, and the first one is always has always the index 0. So in this case, we have to say 1. Let's just verify. Yep. So we want to cut off the first one, and the first one is actually the 0th one. So we cut off the first one, and now we want -1 from the end, because we want all of it unless the very last one. And I'm not, as I said, I'm not 100% sure if this actually works in Integromat, but it's sort of a normal concept in programming that if you just put in -1 to one of these, that it's going to give you, okay, message ID, test@mailid.com. It's sort of a normal concept that it would cut off the last one, and let's see what it's going to do. And the output is, oh, we can check over here. It did not cut off the first one. So, but it did, no, it didn't look like what we wanted. So we just have 1 in the beginning now. Let's say what it, so for the message ID, it just left the very first one. Let's see what we did wrong here. So what we did is we did the substring of the message ID, and the substring of the message ID, between the start position and the end position. So we have, so -1 does not work in Integromat apparently. So what we need is we actually need the length function. So in this case, we have to do a bit of calculation. We have to say, okay, let's take the length of the message ID and then subtract 1 from that. So we take the length of the message ID and then we subtract 1. Yeah, I'm thinking if we have to subtract 2 because we're cutting 1 off in the end, but I think we just have to subtract 1. So let's put in the necessary brackets. So we got 1 bracket here. Oh. Message ID over to the math functions -1. Let's just give that a try. Nope, not what I wanted. Give that a try. Run this module only. Bum bum bum. Topic, test topic. Start time whenever. Message ID. Let's go. And the result is what we were looking for. So now, how did we actually build it? We take the message ID, we cut off the first letter in the message ID string, which is the first bracket, and then we cut off, we check for the length of the message ID and subtract 1 from that, so we know where to cut it off in the end. So we remove these two. So now that we've set all of that up, let's do the next test run. So I'm going to just resend the test email we just used. Send that one again. Here we go. Adam at mail.tomorrow.com. If you want, you can also send emails to it. Nothing is going to happen for that because I filtered down to just me. So only I can send emails to Adam. Perfect. Oh, save changes. So it's running. And it ran. Let's jump over here. Oh, I didn't save fast enough. My mistake. So we will have to do another test run. And there was the email, the test email I just sent to myself, because I'm always sending these emails to myself to test it. Yep, we've saved it, but now let's refresh it. What's the time? 7:28. That looks exactly. Now we saved it, and now we actually see the right one here. So for it not to break, I'm just going to remove these. And now we want to actually test if the opened is also set correctly. So we set the opened with this scenario over here, Adam log email opened. Remember, we just updated the order of the columns in this module. So always, if you're working in your Google Sheets, always go back to every scenario that you're using Google Sheets with and make sure that the column order is correct, because it's not going to remember the name. So if you, let's say you put it, and what I mean by that is if you put in, let's say the meeting is always supposed to be named text, and then you add a row before meeting, then it's not going to remember, oh, text is always going to go into the column named meeting, but it's going to remember, oh, text is always going to go in the second column. So if you put in a column somewhere in the middle, everything is just in the wrong place, basically. That's what I'm trying to say here. So we've checked that. So now let me open the email and see if this one ran. So nope, not yet. And yes, 7:30, and in here, boom, we can see it was opened. So it knows when the email was opened. Now what we have to do is we just have to run so now we send out the invitation email and we know when the email was opened. Next step is send out the reminders. So once an hour, we want to check, okay, do we have an upcoming meeting? So for that, we need to check in our Google Sheet. Nope. In our Google Sheet, we want to check search rows. And now we want to actually check for the date, for the time. So in the spreadsheet, Mailgun opening tracking, we want to go in, and I just have to make sure that if any questions come up over here, that I don't miss them. Okay. Here we go. So every time in our sheet 1, we don't need the whole column range, just easier. And then we want to fetch the opened and now we need the right operator, date time operator. No, sorry, we want to fetch the meeting time. Boom, boom, boom. Here, date time is later than now. So it hasn't happened yet, the meeting, but then we just know all the future meetings, and now we also have to make sure that we just fetch the ones which happen in the next 60 minutes. So we are going to say any future meeting. So this is what this asks. The meeting time is later than right now. So it's a future meeting. And in an hour from now, we want the meeting to be over, or we want the meeting to start basically, and not be over. We want the meeting to start in an hour from now. So what we do here is we put in the meeting time is back to the datetime operations is earlier than, and now we have to, the current time, we have to add 60 minutes to the current time. So we have to say, sorry, my phone is in the way again. Add minutes, here it is. And to the current time, to now, we want to add 60 minutes. So we want the meeting to be in the future by 60 minutes. And just to be safe, we're just going to put 61 minutes. So if this one runs every full hour, we also fetch the ones that start in exactly 60 minutes. So we say, okay, the window is 61 minutes. So we get that one. Not that for some weird reason we're just running too quick and maybe it started a second too early. So then we're missing out the actual one, which is in exactly 60 minutes. So what we're now checking is, do we have a row in our Google Sheet where the meeting start time is sometime in the future, so it hasn't started yet, but it's not further in the future than 61 minutes. So it has to start in the next 60 minutes. Maximum number of rows, let's say 100. I mean, you're never going to have more than one meeting in the next hour probably, unless you're managing a huge calendar with this. But for us, 10 should just be fine. Let's rename it so we can find it again later. Fetch meetings, or get meetings starting in the next 61 minutes. We want to be precise. So now we have all the meetings, and if we have a meeting in here, we want to send out an email. We want to check if the meeting has already started. So now if we have, I just want to see what inputs we get out of this. So I'm just going to pop in a router here so you can just see, no, not a router, something that works with inputs. So let's just pop in a set variable in here, because then in here I can see what do I have at my disposal, and I have the opened already, so I don't have to fetch that again. So I can just use that one here, and I can delete this module again. So now what I want to do is I want to send out a reminder email, but from my personal account, because we know the email from Adam got caught in the spam filter. So we want to use my personal email account. If I hate this, I can never remember what Office 365 has as the module name. Why am I not looking for 365 then? So 365, here we go, Microsoft 365 email. I'm always looking for Office. And then I want to send a message. Create and send a message from my email account. Your upcoming meeting. So I'm not going to make this completely all the way. Blah, 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 reminder. and so on and so forth. So this is what I would do. I'm going to do this after. I don't want to bore you guys. So I'm going to do this afterwards. And I always rename your modules. So send reminder email. Perfect. So now every time, once an hour, we are checking, do we have an upcoming meeting? And if the person has not yet opened the email with the Zoom link, they are going to get a reminder saying, hey, by the way, my assistant sent you this reminder email, send you the meeting details, but now please check your spam folder or something like that. And then I would also put the Zoom link into this email. So for this, we actually have to add something else. So in here, we don't know the Zoom link. And if I want to actually provide good service and in this email say, hey, by the way, I think you missed the email from my assistant, and I don't want that to force them to go into their spam folder and then find the email and so on and so forth. So I actually want to provide the information in here as well. And in order to be able to do that, I will have to actually have the Zoom link available. And the only way I can have the Zoom link available is if I have it in my tracking sheet here. So we are actually going to add another row for the Zoom link. So in here, so I've now actually added it. I've added the Zoom link at the end because I don't want to reset every one of my Google Sheet modules that works with this one. So also one tip I think is map out all the columns you need in your Google Sheet before you actually start implementing stuff with it. And then if you later have to add columns, if at all possible, put them at the end so you don't have to rework every single one scenario. So I get in some cases this might not make sense or be possible, because if you're working with a Google Sheet which is meant for human eyes, let's say, you might want to have a specific order of the columns. If it's just for yourself, so in this case, this is just my little database. I personally don't look into this. It's just to keep track for my scenarios of which emails I've sent out and which ones got opened. So it doesn't matter in this case. I don't mind if it's just at the end. So I'm just going to put this at the end and cancel, save. And now I want to also put in the Zoom link over here if I send an email. So let's do that. Let's go over to the scenario that sends out the Zoom link and also log the Zoom link that we've sent our client. And here's the Zoom link. And join URL. That's the one we want. Always test run your modules. Topic, test topic, start time, whenever. Join URL, test.com. Message ID, test@mailid.com. Boom. Let's test that and jump over. So we got our message ID, we got the meeting name, we got the meeting time, we got the send time, and we got the Zoom link. Excellent. So now we can actually use that in, never forget to save. We can actually go over and we can now use this in our send email reminder for unopened Zoom invites. So if I don't just want to send the reminder, I want to make sure that they also have the information they need for the meeting. So now in here, I can actually throw this. I first have to refresh this module. So let's open this one and refresh here. So it fetches all the rows again. And now here I should also see the Zoom. Okay, let's run it once so then it realizes what's going on. And now I save anyways. And yeah, exactly. Now I have the Zoom link. So now it went over to Google Sheets. It fetched all the current rows I have. And now I can also use the Zoom link. As I said, I'm going to set up the nice text here once I'm offline, because this is not very interesting. So what save that. So what my virtual assistant add-in is now doing is that every time I send an email, and it has a specific wording. So in the email, I'm saying, hey, Adam, please send the meeting details to blah, blah, blah for this date, for this time. It's going to read that and it's going to create the Zoom link, send that Zoom link to the person. If the person opens the email, I'm going to actually track that in my Google Sheet. So here's my Google Sheet tracking all the emails. and the email opens. So I know if the person actually saw the email or if it just got caught in their spam. So then once an hour, I have this little scenario which checks, is a meeting upcoming in the next hour? And if the person hasn't opened the email yet, I send a reminder from my personal email, which is supposed to go through, that, hey, I think you missed the email from my assistant. Here's the Zoom link. See you in an hour. So that's what we're doing here. But now, wouldn't it be nice if we don't just wait until an hour before the meeting to see, did the person open the email? But wouldn't it be nice if we just, every time the email gets caught in the spam, we react to that right away? So then we can send an email, hey, I think, hey, by the way, my assistant just told me that the email got stuck in your spam. How about you check your spam folder? So let's do that as well. Track spam emails, because, and I hope I'm not mistaken here, Mailgun has the functionality to actually check if your email got stuck in spam. Nope, that's not what I was looking for. Mailgun. Here we go. So if you've not worked with Mailgun before, it's just another mail service, and Mailgun basically is only for APIs. So let's just have a quick look at Mailgun. Mailgun is really only if you want to. So it's not like ActiveCampaign or something where you build your little automations and routes and it's for email marketing, but it's really literally only for developers. So you just send emails there through the API. You just send emails through the API. And this is what I use for all my services. For all my apps. So where is Mailgun? Here's Mailgun. So I want to use Mailgun, and Mailgun has the neat functionality to tell you when a spam event happened. So let's use that and actually make sure that every time our email got into the spam, we know about it. So we have to create a new webhook for this. And we use the Mailgun connection. So one thing, if you work with Mailgun, is they have two different servers. So they have a EU server and US, or it's different connection types. If you have a EU-based IP for your emails that you send out, or a US-based IP. So depending on where you've set up the domain in Mailgun, you have to use a different one. So in this case, we use the EU-based. So, and as you can see, I have a few a few domains here, but also I have some in the US-based. So I want the EU-based, mail.tomorrow.com. Let's go. Now we have set up our spam complaints webhook. And what we now want to do is every time we get a spam complaint, we want to then send them an email again from my personal email address. So same thing again, 365. Here we go. So we want to send an email from my personal email account, create and send, which says something like the meeting details, the details to our meeting. And again, I'm going to put in the nice descriptions here afterwards. So I think the email I've sent got stuck in your spam. I think the email my assistant, since it's our virtual assistant, my assistant sent got stuck in your spam, ... So we can now actually make sure that every time, and this is pretty neat because actually right away then when the email gets stuck in their spam, we can then send out the email and they get notified. And I think one nice thing that this showcases is how easy the most useful automations can be, or the most impressive scenarios, I would say. So I think this is quite interesting functionality, but it's so easy to actually build. So here if we go back, we have 4 scenarios. One is a bit more complex because here we have to pass the whole email. We have to we have to read the email and we have to get the information about the meeting out of the email. So this is a bit more complicated, but then all the other ones are super straightforward, but they have really neat functionality. So we can actually track, did they open the email? And also we can send out emails if they didn't open the email, or if it got stuck in their spam, we can say, hey, I think the email from my assistant got stuck in your spam, all sorts of things like that. So let me just jump over to YouTube and see if we have any questions. We don't have any questions right now. So this is my virtual assistant Adam. What I'm now going to do is I'm just going to put in the fine print and all the nice texts and everything for the emails. But what it is now able to do is it's able to send out meeting requests based on just an email that I copy Adam in. And then it's going to be able to track, did the person open the email? If not, just remind them. And also, if the email gets stuck in their spam, just remind them, hey, I think the email got stuck in your spam as well. So this is actually what I had on my sheet for today. So if there is no Integromat questions over here, nope, I don't see any. I appreciate the nice words, Guy. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Arkai. I appreciate you joining today. So what we do at Formoro, again, my name is Dominik Lehnert. I am the founder of Formoro, and what we do at Formoro is we actually want to help you focus better on your business and get back to the things that you love in your business, because probably you're doing a lot of work in your business that you don't actually enjoy, that's repetitive, that you're doing over and over again, and that is taking away from the joy in your business, and that is taking away from the excitement that you had in the very beginning when you started out your job. And we want to help you automate that. And on the one hand side, we want to just train you and we want to help you build these automations yourself. And if you're just too busy to learn how to automate yourself, which I can really understand, then we are also always able to help you and always happy to help you build these automations for you. That is our mission. That's what we've set out to do. Again, my name is Dominik Lehnert. Thank you for joining today, and next Thursday we are going to be back. Make sure to bring any questions you have about Integromat, and that's it for today. Take care and goodbye.